Let's hear more about that. Mario Schlosser is with us, CEO, OSCR Health. So you list on the New York Stock Exchange today, an exciting day for the company. This is your time, right? Better care, cheaper prices. You're working on something that seems miraculous.
That's very nice of you to say, yes. That's, it's been an incredible journey the last 8 years. I'm glad we're here today. I'm glad we can show up for our members. We got a lot more work to do, but yeah, it's good to be at this point. And yes, I started the company 8 years ago because I thought that when my first son was born, my wife was in labor, this was too complicated, too costly, too difficult to navigate. And we thought that the insurance company could make a huge difference in the way the healthcare system works if it only had a more modern technology stack, if it only had much higher member engagements. And so OSCR is that modern day on its own technology stack health insurance company with the highest member engagement out there. And yeah, I think we're changing the healthcare system in all kinds of ways.
I mean, you must have worked so hard since you founded this company, co-founded this company back in 2012. I saw many of your investors, huge names, right? When I saw Druckenmiller and Barry Sternlicht, and I know you have partnerships with many of the hospitals, Montefiore and Memorial Holy Cross and Cleveland Clinic, and you co-founded this with some people that we know well, right? Josh Kushner and Kevin Nazemi. How important is it to have this group in this way? I mean, each one must have been a real milestone for you.
Here's a funny story. When we got our first investors, founders funds, Peter, Brian Singerman there, obviously Josh and everything else, the other folks there, General Catalyst and so on. If they didn't have an ability of sitting down and writing on a piece of paper, a napkin, basically in a cafe, what their vision for the healthcare system looks like in 20 years from now, we didn't want them in a cap table, really. We really wanted investors who are in this for the long haul. We told them it's not going to be an easy path. We picked the most difficult healthcare system in the world, the most difficult segment in that system, the most difficult problem. We built this all from the ground up. We don't have any outsourced technology in there. It's all kind of like our own love and labor and lines of code written by me partly early on. You're exactly right. We wanted people around this for really the long term. So it's great to be here today and get the public story out. And I'm super glad we're out here, proud of the employees and proud of where we are. But it'll take, I think, 2 decades more to really get this to where it needs to be.
I see, and your goal here is for folks to be able to buy their long-term care, have some competition so that you can provide a low price with some great doctors. I mean, what's your vision going forward for people as they're doing more and more virtually now because of COVID? How will this work?
We were the first insurance company back in 2014 to make virtual urgent care totally free for everybody. So that was really not even remotely something in anybody else's mind at the time. Made it totally free. We're now the first insurer to let you pick a primary care physician in the cloud, as I like to say, in the OSCR Medical Group, virtual primary care physicians there. That care is free, but then the downstream care also gets discounted. So if that doctor tells you, get this lab test, get this drug, we get a discount on that care as well, very dynamically and very much in real time, which is why we built our own systems to begin with in the way that we did. You can't do these things. You can't iterate. You can't use data analytics in the way that we are doing it if you didn't have your own technology stack. And that's, I think, where the rest of the healthcare system is much slower still. So yes, exactly right. The long-term in the way we built our systems here is unbelievably important. In the virtual plan design OSCR now has since the beginning of this year, we see on average more chronically ill members. We see that the Net Promoter Score is even higher than for OSCR, but we already are much higher than the healthcare industry otherwise. And we see that we get members to pick an OSCR physician in the cloud there who otherwise tell us they wouldn't have had a primary care physician, which are exactly the kind of folks who would have had difficulty navigating this really complex healthcare system. So it's a key part of our model. If in 10 years, 20 years from now, I think what will happen is you will be able to buy, not just be handed from your employer without choice in the matter, you'll be able to buy a long-term health care experience you really want. And hopefully that's from OSCR. And that'll mean for us that we can invest in your health 30, 40 years down the line by understanding much more in detail who you are, what your healthcare goals are, what you can best do. As the insurance company, that's kind of the magic powers we have. As a technology company, we can deliver this.
So, I think it's obviously very admirable what you're doing, but as you said, you're not cutting corners. You haven't been cutting corners, and you've been taking the most difficult path so that you will have success. I mean, you have, 20 million plus people that are not even covered at all in the United States, and you're using high quality doctors that you're finding through data and making partnerships, I guess, with the doctors and with hospitals and things like that. But it's only in its infancy. So at what point am I not going to be talking about United Healthcare or anything else for that matter? I mean, how do you promote yourself to these folks, these millions of people who need care?
Look, I think we were one of the fastest growing insurance companies ever in the last couple of years. We're now at north of 500,000 members. Last year, 2.3 billion revenue. So I feel like we've gotten the word out there. We got real scale behind this now. There's all kinds of things that I really think we did for the first time. What's our $3 drug tier in the states we're in, whether it's, again, free virtual urgent care, virtual primary care, whether it's no deductible plans in various ACA markets. These are all things kind of we did first. And so we don't necessarily talk about the other folks in the market there. We got the platform, we got the people at OSCR to figure this out ourselves, and I think to lead the pack there in the best way. You'll see us keep doing that, and I think you'll see us keep taking share from others out there. I love nothing more than when now other insurance companies say, we now want to become a technology company, or we now care about member experience in a different kind of way. It's comparatively easier to take a nice looking app sitting on top of a fundamentally unwieldy infrastructure. We really kind of rebuilt the tech stack from the ground up there. That'll pay dividends for many, many years to come. And it's for me the most exciting. I wake up in the morning and I have dashboards I can look at that tell me exactly yesterday how many people have we get vaccinated for COVID because of our concierge teams reaching out to them and getting them a vaccine. And that's the thing I care about. And that's the thing that gets me going.
Yeah, and I know I've been following you and hearing that you seemed to be less interested in a good way about where the stock price is, or, I mean, you just need to raise the capital to grow the company and put the technology in place so that you could provide the care at a good cost and good care at that. You picked the New York Stock Exchange. I mean, we do got to talk about money, at least for a moment. The New York Stock Exchange raised about $1.5 billion. This company's valued at nearly $8 billion. You had a $39 IPO. It's a little bit below that. Where do you see the value of the company in 5 years or 10 years?
Honestly, I think valuation questions are, I would have said until last year for the mutual funds to figure out. Now I would say for the people on Reddit to figure out, or a combination of both. I don't really worry too much about this. I've been at this for 8 years now, and this is a great day because we got capital on the balance sheet.
But you'll grow the company through partnerships, right? You'll grow the company through these partnerships. You mentioned some in Florida and New York, right? What partnerships are you also working on at this time?
So I'd say we are at the very beginning of everything we're doing. We have a huge amount of growth runway in the individual market, in the small employer market, in the Medicare Advantage markets. Just in the last year and a half or so, we created several health plans with health systems, hospital systems, which is a very novel evolution of U.S. healthcare, that smart, dedicated provider systems start becoming more like insurance companies. We have the tech stack that enables them to do that. That's a whole another part of OSCR. And so I think that as the healthcare system, and you can keep watching this, shifts more towards individualization, more towards digitization, as you said, and more towards the sharing of risk in this entire supply chain. Those are the three trends that I think we started the company for 8 years ago and that are now really playing out, where the pandemic has put more pressure on that system to go in that direction. In all of these, we're at the beginning, even though we're already at a couple billion in revenues, and we're the fastest growing insurer, and probably, I think, ever under certain metrics. And so you can, I think, be pretty confident there that in 5 or 10 years from now, this will be a great company. And I would, on the one hand, hope you'd become an investor. On the other hand, I'd hope you become insured by OSCR. And I like both of these, frankly, and maybe ideally both in combination. So I'm looking forward to both of that, more of that.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. I mean, just a quick thought on the pandemic as you follow all the stats. I mean, we had on one very influential, Byron Ween, who said he thought the economy reopens Memorial Day, at the end of May, as more and more people get vaccinated. What do you see for the economy or things like that pertaining to COVID? Are you seeing great improvement?
We are definitely seeing, so we have a lot of internal indicators to see how COVID is affecting our population. And we're definitely down, I'd say, 2 months ago or so, probably about 25% of our virtual visits would have been about COVID. That's now down to maybe 5-7% or so. So that's a big improvement. We're at the levels of COVID reinfections and COVID conversations in our membership base that we were last at, I'd say probably October last year, right, before really the second wave kicked in there. So the trends are all in the right direction. The levels are now much better than what used to be the case. We're down to, I think, about maybe 8 members of OSCR in the ICU in a state like Texas for COVID. So that's all in a much better direction. I hope we're not opening too early. I hope people stay vigilant. I've been walking around with my mask here, even though you now see me without one. I saw my colleagues for the first time in this morning, a couple of them in 3D, which is a strange sight, not weirdly lit people on a video screen otherwise, right? Yeah. So life exists and goes on for many of us, and I hope that's going to be the case as well. So I'm optimistic there. In many ways, we can return back to normalcy soon, but stay vigilant, everybody, please.